Thank you very much, Congressmember Steele. Your time is up. We're now going to move on to Congressmember Auchincloss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Mr. Secretary. I appreciate you being with us for this long hearing. When you get to the freshmen, though, you know you're getting close to the end, so you'll get a break soon enough. When we last spoke, Mr. Secretary, we had talked about the Future of Transportation Caucus principles of equity, access, and sustainability, the pillars for me in how we evaluate transportation infrastructure. And as a former mayor, you were really a trailblazer on complete streets. And I want to ask you about how you see DOT investing in complete streets to expand access to jobs and services, to improve sustainability, and to create more equitable cities and towns for our constituents.
Well, thank you. The idea of complete streets, as you know, is to make sure that our streets and roads in our communities are set up to accommodate all kinds of travel. Yes, cars, but not only cars, that they are safe for pedestrians, accessible for bicycles and wheelchairs, and that they're part of an integrated plan for that neighborhood or that community. We took those steps in South Bend by converting a part of our downtown that had really been empty or far too quiet for far too long, and found that we were able to reinvigorate it by making that transformation of what had been one-way highways going right through the heart of our community into a more complete streets approach. So I want to make sure that those kinds of gains are available to communities across the country. And it means making sure we align our federal dollars to support communities that want to take this kind of approach. I think too often we've been beholden to measures that assume that the only thing that a road is good for is blasting through vehicle traffic as quickly as possible. Now, efficiency for vehicle traffic is always going to be, of course, an important part of what roads are there to do. But roads have to be, and streets, especially in the hearts of our cities, have to be places where vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, and businesses can coexist peacefully and safely. And that's the underlying philosophy that will be integrated into the way we approach our funding.
Mr. Secretary, towards this end of investing in complete streets that thicken the labor market by expanding the number of jobs and services within a commuter shed, I'd like to make two requests of you and to hear your thoughts on them. The first is to issue a definition of what shared mobility operators are in your notice of funding opportunities from DOT. I think this would create clarity for micromobility vendors as well as for car share and on-demand transit services. And number two, to direct the FHWA and the FTA to issue clarifying guidance on the ability of recipients of highway and transit funding to use those federal funds for shared mobility operators.
Well, thank you. I'll take both of those ideas back. As you know, there's been such swift and complex development in terms of all of these different micromobility and shared mobility companies and platforms. And we need to make sure that we're keeping up with that on a policy level and creating as much predictability as we can. So I welcome those ideas, and we'll explore those going forward.
I appreciate it, Mr. Secretary. And Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stanton, I've been told I got the gavel back, so not to